All right, guys, welcome to episode number 24. Is that right, Andrew? Pick money? 24. I got my buddy, Zac Twardowski. Really excited because he's one of my favorite people in the world. And I think you epitomize, Zac, what we talk about here on Pick Money. I think that we talk a lot about, when you ask me what excites me about business, is seeing people that didn't understand how to go make money. And when people go like, well, money's not important, it's like, no, you live in a capitalistic society. Everything you do is based on it. Does not mean you sell your soul for money. It doesn't mean, but it means that money is how you take care of you and your family and live the life you want to live, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I think about your story because I think your story is an unbelievable success story. You know, you understand, you got into the insurance business 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. You were how old?
22.
22 years old. And what were you making before you got in the insurance business?
I just graduated college. All I did in college was bartend, and in the summer times I'd work on the oil field. So made some money doing that stuff, but I realized that was not a long-term deal.
Got it. And when was your first, and also don't get skewed. Like the thing we really pride ourselves on at Pick Money is being honest about people's results, because social media is full of a lot of bullshit that's not true, and then you got to sift through it, and it's like, we'll just tell you the truth, like whether you like it or not, and we're not going to mislead you. When was the first year you made $1 million in a year?
So I grossed $1 million when I was 25. So 3 years after that, and then when I was 26, I netted $1 million for the first time.
So that's also like when you hear people speak that way, that's what you want. That's what we've always said. I'm always don't tell me what you made. What did you keep? Don't tell me your top line. I got a lot of top line mother effers out there, man. Man, my company did. How much did you make? How much did he make? How much did she make? So, you were a millionaire at what age?
26.
26 years of age. Now, when people say, I'm going to be a millionaire by 25, 26, I'm like, dude, I'm not saying you shouldn't have that as a goal. Like, I think when people say, you know, I heard a guy the other day say, when you say you're going to be a millionaire by 30, you know you're not going to be. That's not true, dude. Like, that doesn't, but also understand that everybody's results are different. Everybody's work ethic is different. Everybody decides because to do that, you picked money at some point in time in your life, right? And like, okay, like I'm done with college and I really don't like the jobs I got. And when you look back now at your journey, which is 7 years long, and entering your 30s, one of the things people ask people a lot, which I do think is a good question, is, you know, when you look back on it, what is one thing you know now that you wish you knew then? Like would have expedited you building a business. So as you reflect back on your entrepreneurial career, what is one thing you're like, damn, I wish I knew that?
I think the one thing was, as you know, I was debating between, I got into medical school. I took 2 years off. My wife and I both deferred our enrollment for 2 years. She ended up going back. She's finishing residency now. And I started working with you end of 2017. And what I wish I knew then was that people don't think about you as much as you think they are, right? And I was so concerned. I'm like, what are my parents going to think? What are my peers going to think? What does my wife think? Hopefully she's okay with this because she wants to be a doctor. And I was so consumed about what everyone else thought about me, which was positive in some ways because I had a massive chip on my shoulder because I wanted to prove everyone wrong. But it was detrimental in other ways because I wasn't willing to share what we were doing. I was in a shell where I had a chip on my shoulder where I sold a lot, but I wasn't willing to share the opportunity in life insurance. And people would ask what I did. And I would say, I'm in financial services. Now, like I was at the country club at the Ritz the other day with some of the guys we took them golfing. And there was a guy who was there. He's like, he's an investment banker. And they were getting ready to go to a meeting, getting coffee. And he goes, oh, what do you do for work? We're just kind of going back and forth. I'm like, oh, I sell life insurance. And he was like, oh, well, I do investment banking. He's like, well, I'm about to go golfing at 10 o'clock on a Monday with a couple of my guys, but have fun at your meeting. He started laughing. He's like, good for you, bro. Good for you. But I was so when I didn't even want to tell people I was in life insurance when I first started it, you know? And then getting around you, what I learned was like other people's opinion of you is none of your business. I remember you said that and it was a pivotal change in my career. And what I realized was like, I had my wife, Deborah, we've been super close. She's been nothing but supportive the entire time. That was all I really needed. She was the only person I needed to be on board. Was I happy my parents eventually were on board? Yeah. Was I happy her parents were on board? Yeah. But none of that mattered. And if she and I hadn't worked out, then even her opinion would not have mattered to me.
Correct.
And she knows this. If she wasn't on board with what I wanted to do and our vision for our future family, then we wouldn't have been together anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that she understood, like, I'll support him, he'll figure it out. And it's been amazing to have her in my corner, but we only stayed together because that was kind of the way our relationship worked. And I learned that from you is like, whatever whatever other people think of you, it doesn't really matter. As long as it makes sense to you, you feel like you're doing the right thing. And then what I learned from my dad later, I was so worried that I wasn't gonna be a doctor and he was gonna be disappointed, And I had a big chip on my shoulder because I thought he was disappointed. And he was like, look, as long as you're happy with what you're doing and you feel like you're making some kind of positive impact on the world, then that's a good thing. And I realized for him, it wasn't being a doctor, it was having a positive impact. And in our business, I was like, we help people get life insurance and we help people make money. Like there's not much more of a positive impact than that is. So my mindset shifted from being so worried what everyone would think about me to going like, oh, I have a career I can be very proud of and something that I should tell everyone about. And it became more of a mission than it wasn't about me. It was about, hey, who's the next person that's where I was when I was 22 that I can help put them into my spot now.
And it's funny because, and again, I think even your dad, I think, yes, he wanted you to, but he also wanted you to be successful and happy. Yeah. Make a difference. I mean, I met your dad. So like, he's a great dude. Like he wanted you to be successful, wanted you to be happy. And I think that, for me, and again, I've always tried to, I was talking to, Dave Anderson the other day. He was texting me back and forth. I love Dave Anderson, love his books, just love listening to him talk. And he was talking about some stuff these guys are going through, he's mentoring. And he says, man, they're so consumed with the world's opinion of them. And he's like, do you know what I mean? And I go, no, And he was like, what do you mean? So we started going back and forth. And I said, he goes, just all the people around you. And I said, well, dude, when I was 14, 15, I was like, bro, I'm not mad at anybody, but I'm not going to worry about what my mom and dad want me to do. I don't give a shit about my friends. They're as big of idiots as I am. And I actually just realized I don't give a shit. I'm like, God's in charge. If God's good, I'm good. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to make mistakes. But you don't like it. I didn't ask, motherfucker. Like, what? I didn't ask you. Like, hey, thank you. And I would say to people all the time, they'd be like, I was thinking, I'm like, when did I give you the impression that I asked you what you thought?
Right.
And they would just immediately like, well, come on. I'm like, no, I'm being serious. What did I do to make you think I gave a shit about your opinion?
Did you always have that?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
Because I did not.
Always.
You taught me it.
Dude, 14 years old, I was like, y'all stupid, I'm good. Like, I'm not waiting around for the people in my life to approve. Because for me, but then again, Zach, you were raised in a very solid, successful family.
Yeah.
So in fairness, me acting that way is not like, oh my God, that was so smart of you. That was what I should have done. I looked around, and I'm like, these are not bad people. Respect your mom and your dad, and I do.
Yeah.
My mom was doing the best she could on her own. My dad was in and out, but there was nobody around me that was having a result in their life in any way that I wanted to replicate.
Right.
So it didn't make, and that doesn't make me worse than them or better than them. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
So for you, I think that's a harder thing. I tell people all the time, sometimes those of us that didn't know and weren't shown have to go figure it out quicker. And yeah, we have a chip on our shoulder, but it's also like, dude, I'm going to go gravitate towards people that have the answer. Right. Because these folks, they don't have the answer. And I think also I was like that as a kid. I just didn't, and I was very contradictory. Like I was like, dude, I don't care. So like, if you were my coach and I believed you had my best interests at heart, I was willing to let you speak into my life. If you were my coach and I knew it was transactional and you didn't, dude, I would straight up tell you I'm not listening. You could talk to me and I'd be like, yep. Are you listening to me? I'm like, I heard you. Are you listening to me? I'm like, you never played this game and like, you don't care about me. I don't care about you. Why don't you just let me do my job? I'm not mad at you. Stuff that where your dad would have come out of the stands and grabbed you by the back of the head and been like, don't ever do that. But I'm like, I'm not here to like, you win games when I play. Right. So I need you to coach. I need you to just go back in the bench, sit there, look smart, let me play, we'll win. And we don't have to be friends. Yeah. But let's not pretend to be friends either. Let's not bullshit each other. You ain't going to invite me to your house. I'm not hanging out with Timmy, your son. So let's just let me be me and you be you. Right. And some coaches didn't do that. And I was like, cool, I'm out. I'm going to be off the team. And I remember I was 12 years old. You remember the dumbest things, right? And my team when I was 8 was Act 1. Mm-hmm. It was like a salon or something. And then it was Liberty Bankers, I think they even called us. And then it was TGI Painting, like whatever. And then it was Smith Insurance. Mm-hmm. And my coach his son was on the team. And I showed up. Me and my brother played. We were the best players in the team. My brother was 2 years younger. My brother was nasty. And coach is like, hey, today I'm going to have you play center field. And I was like, okay. And I play shortstop and pitch. Then when I don't pitch, I play short. When I pitch, my brother plays short. Went hard. We just went back and forth. You only pitch so many innings. We split every game. Whatever. Won a lot of games. So I go out in the outfield, take outfield, infield, outfield, and the coach is hitting fly balls. I'm just looking at him. I'm like, I ain't getting that ball. And he put his son at short. And his son's, no offense, is terrible. And nice kid, but he was terrible, not a good baseball player. And the game was important. We're playing a good team. And I didn't sign up for him to put his kid at short because he was his kid. Yeah. And I probably was mad because I didn't have my father in a relationship like that. So I was like, no. And he just kept hitting balls. So he's like, come in here. I was like, okay. And I walked in. He's like, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm all good, dude. I play short.
Yeah.
You're hitting the ball at the outfield. I ain't going to catch it. I'm like, do whatever you want to do. I am only on this team to win. We do better if I play short because I'm the best shortstop we got. I'm not fast anyway. You don't want to put me in center field. And your kid can't catch the ball.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him a bad kid. And you know who was the most uncomfortable? His son.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I wasn't at 12 that like ahead of my time, but I'm like, dude, you're messing him up because you're doing something for him he doesn't deserve. And you're doing it because you want to do it. He's not asking for it. And he's like, no, I'll play center. I'm like, bro, I'm not mad at you. I don't care what y'all do. I'm on this team to win. And if I can't help us win, don't play me. And I think, Zach, that's been the attitude I've taken in business. No different than when we started talking, all I wanted you to do was win.
Yeah.
The relationship we were going to build or not build was secondary to, I need you to win because you need to win. And if I can help you, you're going to be the one doing the work. If I can help you win, then I'm successful with this. You're going to take it and go as far as you want to go, but I just go ahead and provide that. And then I step back.
Yeah.
If we become friends, cool. But my deal first is you need to go win. Because even though I didn't know your journey or your struggle, I knew your journey. I didn't know exactly, but I knew by looking at you, you were troubled with what you were trying to do. You were uncomfortable like a fish out of water.
Yep.
But then I'm like, he's really smart and he's working hard. He's going to do well. But I didn't know. So I just watched. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The other day we were at our office for a lock-in and I had a Q&A session and I learned this from you. Like a lot of the Q&A became me asking people questions, right? And there was a guy there. His brother started doing insurance a year ago and his brother's done really well. He's making a couple $100,000 a year doing insurance. I'm like, why did you wait to do insurance so long? And someone else started, no, I'm like, no, let him talk. Let me know why. And I'm like, okay, so you're making $200,000 a year now. What were you doing before? Backstory ended up being that he built a contracting company for an oil company. He's working 80 hours a week, never sees his kids, makes a couple $100,000 a year. So I'm like, when your brother said, who's your blood brother, said he's making $300,000 selling insurance, you thought what? He's like, I thought he's full of shit. I'm like, why? He's like, because I worked my ass off 80 hours a week for 8 years to build something that made $200,000. And I never get to see my kids. So I felt dumb because I went down this route and it was so much harder. I thought there's no way this could be right. And then I'm like, okay, now I know what to work with this guy. And I remember, the reason I bring that up is I remember with you kept asking me a lot of questions to try to uncover things. And I didn't want to tell you the answers to them.
You're like playing poker.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember exactly where, but I remember we were in Charleston, South Carolina. We were sitting outside, you, me, one other guy, and you kept just asking me questions. And I was sweating because it was hot out and I was not from the South, and because you kept asking me questions when I was 23 years old. Why did you, with me, go like, I'm going to keep asking and pouring into him? Was it because I just answered the questions, tried my best? Because I remember you'd ask me something, I'd give you an answer, you go, no, start over. That was terrible. It'd be sales related. You go, hey, tell me that. I'd say it. You go, no, start over. Do it again. Hey, do it with some confidence this time. Hey, try this time instead. Why did you decide to keep pouring back into me instead of going like, dude, he's not very good at this, I'm going to move on?
Because, and that's a really good question. I always want to coach and help people get better if I can. And I start to try to coach, and a lot of people don't want to be coached. So, and I'm not mad at all. I just kind of like, you want it to be. So when you would give an answer, I'm like, no, bro, like, don't do it that way. Like, why are you doing that? You weren't like, or whatever, or hey, thanks, I'll try that next time. You're like, okay, and you tried again. And I'm like, okay, so you had this desire to learn. You had this thirst for knowledge. And I think a big part of it was all the other stuff you had going on in your head. You're like, I don't know if I like this guy or not, but he's saying some weird stuff. He has had some success. I'm going to try to stay close and figure some things out.
And he's honest with me, which is not normal in the world.
I was
Most people
honest
don't
with you.
shoot you straight.
And so, and also, I think that whole not giving a shit, that crosses every, like, if I work hard to help you and I'm honest with you and you don't like it, okay. You, well, he won't talk to you again. Yeah, but I did the best I could.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't being honest with him, trying to be, brave and I wasn't doing that. I wanted you to do better.
Yeah.
This was one-on-one, another guy there. Like, I want you to do that.
Yeah.
I want you to believe in yourself the way I look at you and go, dude, why doesn't he believe in himself? And even that story, that true story, the non-fictional story about this guy and his biological brother.
Yeah.
I'd argue that when I started making money, I was like, yo, y'all need to see what I'm doing. This is mother freaking stupid.
Right.
And if they even blinked an eye, I'm like, oh yeah. I can remember, I'm like, yeah, of course David don't believe me. He don't do shit.
Right.
Gordon, this is the amount of money I'm making. Don't let Court, I don't even want you to do it, fool. People knew I meant it because I was always shooting them straight. Good, bad, or indifferent. When I was broke, I was broke.
Yeah.
When I was making no money, I'm like, I'm making no money. I didn't pretend.
And this dude's brother was lukewarm, right?
What's that?
His brother was lukewarm. Which
Totally
is why,
lukewarm. So, of course, he's like, yeah, I'm kind of... And his self-image isn't high enough to go, hey, bro, you're not seeing your family. You're working 8 hours a week. I make more money than you. What the hell are you doing? Let's go.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's for him, but, like, let's go and let's go now.
Right.
And that's what I thought you lacked. I'm like, dude, where's the passion?
Spike the ball every once in a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I never... I remember saying another guy who I love. He's great. And I said, dude, when you scored his touchdowns in high school, what'd you do? He's like, gave the ball to the ref. And my
I think
dad,
that was me. I think we had that conversation.
it was definitely you.
Yeah.
It was another guy too. I remember him. And I'm like, dude, I score.
Yeah.
Motherfucking everybody's gonna know. I'm gonna spike it, kick it, scream. I'm gonna go taunt the other team. Head coach, and that's why they can't stop me. Like, I was so excited for me and my team winning, and I didn't give a damn what anybody thought at all, like in any capacity. And I think it was a blessing. So your desire to learn is why I kept pushing. Your desire to learn, and every time I pushed or asked a question, you just kept responding.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, he obviously wants to get better. And then I saw a lot of people around you not know what to do with you. And they just kind of kept like passing the buck. I'm like, does anybody know like any? And I would ask them stuff about you, and they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if you guys don't know him at all, like, you know anything about his family, how he's, and they just didn't seem to know anything. So I was like, he don't want to tell him. And also, in fairness, you were uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody by nature.
So the more uncomfortable you were, the more curious I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this dude's really guarded. Let me find out why.
Got it.
And I just kept asking. If you were like, hey, bro, enough questions, I'd be like, all right, man. I was just trying to help, dude. Like, all good. Like, have a good day. I'm not mad at you, but like, I'm just trying, dude, I'm trying to help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing when people realize that you just want to see them when you're going to be the one doing the work. Right. I mean, all I'm trying to do is try to figure out, go like, okay, I wouldn't do it this way. I wouldn't say it that way. I wouldn't necessarily do this. And when there's a problem, call me up and let me know.
Yeah.
Other than that, dude, you're going to roll. And I think that's how you let people grow.
To your point about spiking the ball too, I think what people do wrong sometimes is they hear you or they hear other people who know things, who've been through business, who've done well, say, hey, do this, spike the ball. And then they try to be that person. They try to copy them
spike
exactly.
it before they get in the end zone.
Yeah. Yeah, do that. Or they try to spike it the way you would spike it. And what I realized, I'm like, I'm not you. We have different demeanors. We have different backgrounds. It'd be weird if I tried to act just like you did. So I had to figure out my own way to do it. And I think a mistake I see people make all the time is like, guys, they try to talk just like me or be. I'm like, dude, we are totally different backgrounds.
Correct.
Or people try to be you. I'm like, I'm gonna do what you're asking me to do, but I'm gonna do it the way I would do it.
Correct.
Not the way you would do it. I don't talk like you. We didn't have the same upbringing. We're not from the same part of the country.
Correct.
You know, and I'm 20 years younger. Like, it would be weird if I acted exactly like you do.
Correct.
You know, and that's one of the things that started clicking for me is like, oh, I don't have to be Sean. I can do what Sean's saying to do and put my spin on it.
Correct.
And we get to the same goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's part of, you know, how you excel in business is really trying to figure out. And I think part of that is nobody's asking you to. I've had a lot of people that have mentored me.
Yeah.
But I've never tried to be them. This isn't a movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not an actor. Like, this is like, I'm going to do the best that I can do, and I'm going to be me. Mm-hmm. And you know, and I've been pretty consistent of being me. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and people are like, well, I just, Your delivery. Yeah, I understand. You've not liked it for 15 years, bro. You said it's too rough around the edges. It's not going to change. It's not because it's perfect. It's just me.
Yeah.
It's worked. I'm very happy with the results, and it just is me being me. So just go be you. And I think that, so when you look at where you are today, and you talked about it, because I kind of was going a different direction when you were talking about this. I understand the communication. But I want to talk about celebrating prematurely.
Yeah.
I want to talk about if somebody were to ask me, we were sitting there in a group, and there were a bunch of guys that were 22, and they're like, man, how do I navigate my next 7-8 years, so I can end up where Zac is at the age of 30? I think one of the things I tell people all the time is humility. How have you been able to maintain? Because we got folks, bro. We got folks on social media that got paid $1,800 last month.
Yeah.
And they took a picture of 3 cars that are not theirs. They posted 3 bank statements that are not theirs. And they AI'd some pictures, and they've arrived. And they don't care about the money. They care about the recognition, the view. Look at me, and look at me.
Yeah.
How do you stay humble? Because listen, dude, I didn't make $1 million in my 20s in a year. And it's the other thing, people are like, I never made $1 million in my 20s in a year. Never like one year where it's like I netted $1 million. I was building all kinds of stuff in real estate and accumulating things, but I was accumulating more debt, buying more properties. But I didn't make $1 million in a year at that age. How have you remained humble?
I think a couple of things. Like I look at it I think I was telling you this earlier. I look at in like 5-10 year increments, right? And I think there's time where you learn a lot of things and you add stuff to your tool belt. And then there's times where you get to execute and make a lot of money, right? And I know if I'm not making the money I want to make like early in my career, I was like, I'm learning the skill set right now that I'm going to be able to execute on later and make a lot of money. So my goal is either to be like killing it, pouring money in, or learning skills that I can make a lot of money with in the future. And I know a big part about like our business or about other businesses, getting around people who know the right things and understand that there's always people who know more than I know. And my goal is never to be the smartest person in the room. My goal is to be the dumbest person in the room and get to be around people like yourself and other people who have done really well in business. And I think being in those rooms, you pick up on the habits of the people that have done really well. And everyone who does really well, they do a really good job of passing credit along. They say that they learn things from their mentors. They don't get big egos. They stay very grounded and very humble. And so I try to pay attention to what successful people do, because you want to get to a place where, like, my goal is I want to have $100 million by the time I'm 40, right? Like, okay, how do I get there? I get around people that have done that, and I see the way that they act, and I want to act the same way that those folks act. They know that there's enough to go around for everybody. It's not necessarily one of these things where it's a zero-sum game where I win or you lose. It's like, how do we win together? How does everyone make money together? And the other thing I started doing was I started listening to a lot of biographies of people that have been successful, like the Jeff Bezoses, Steve Jobs, those type people. Those people were all crazy. They were all, addicted to what they did in business, but they were all humble at the end of the day. And they all believed in themselves. Like, one of my favorite stories ever was Elon Musk, the first company he built, he put 100% of it into PayPal. And when he was growing PayPal, they were like, why do we go with you? Versus the other company? And he goes, well, I got paid $22 million for my last company, and I put $20 million of that money into this company. They're like, oh, you didn't raise money? He's like, I raised money for myself. I'm all in on this. Yeah, I'm all in on this thing, right? And it wasn't that he had a big ego. It was like, I'm all in, and you should come work with me because I'm all in. It wasn't how smart I am. It wasn't I'm the smartest person in the world. He's like, I believe in this so much that I'll put all my net worth into it. And every time I look at someone who's been really successful, they stay very humble. They act in a way that allows other people around them to be successful. And my goal is, if I act like someone who has already been there, then I won't get a big ego. And the other thing I realized is we are in the life insurance business, right? A lot of businesses are just based on good timing. Like, I started our business when I was 22 years old. There was not a lot of people in our business. My first full year in the business, I wrote $403,000. For those of y'all not in insurance, doesn't mean anything to you, but I was the number 3 person in the country, right? Last year, I wouldn't have been 130th.
Right.
So it was good timing for me to start when I started. I made a lot of money as a result of being in at a good time. And I don't think I'm lucky, but I'm like, it was good timing. Yeah. Had I started later, I probably wouldn't have made as much money as early as I did because I had really good timing. And so I try to have good perspective. And then I think the other thing I want to add to that is I got to watch my dad for a long time, who worked really hard, right? He owns his own practice. Every day he would wake up at 5 o'clock. He would leave the house by about 6:30. He'd get home at 7 p.m. He worked Saturdays. So none of those things were surprising to me when I saw that people who worked really hard, or people that made a lot of good money, worked really hard and worked long hours. And because I made some money early on, I always had the perspective of what it took for him to make a lot of money, you know, and it was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And I understood that, you know, people who grind that way, like there's a certain level of respect that I have for people who work like that. And I never wanted to, you know, go on and be like, I'm so smart or I'm so special because we made money in life insurance. Like you always say, I sell life insurance. I don't, you're not the CEO of Delta Airlines, right?
Correct.
I'm not Jeff Bezos. Anyone could do what we did if they work really hard.
Correct.
And then just to kind of hammer that point home, like I've never seen anyone who's run a really big company or anyone who's been worth a lot of money from any real business that they built. Like, yeah, if you got lucky with crypto, maybe you could be an asshole and get around with it, get away with it. But everyone who's built big companies, everyone who's successful, they talk so much about how they're driven by a mission, how they pour back into their company, how they want other people to be successful. Like we work with an insurance carrier. They came to our meeting, and the whole message about their company and what he's built was how he could serve people, how he could serve his guys that work with them, how much money he can put back in, and how the company together has a great culture, and that's why they're great. It's never about the leader. It's never about the ego. It's about pouring the credit back to everyone else.
Well, I think also, and that's really informative, and I hope you all took that in, because it's important to pay attention when people are talking about how they got there, because then you kind of figure out, what am I doing, what am I not doing? And I think also what you said, you know, in today's world, there's multitudes of ways to go make money, right? And I don't, you know, everybody talks about, well, there's so much, there's always been a lot of opportunity. The information was just shared differently. There's plenty of ways to make money. Well, I'm, you know, 52 years old. There's plenty of ways to make money in our 20s. It wasn't through so, but there was a lot of other ways to make money. But what I learned when I was real young was, you know, I had a guy tell me, you either have to decide that you're going to create something that's never been created. Call it an invention, call it whatever you want. You're going to create something. You're going to, you know, this industry is going to be different because they don't have this product. It'd be like, okay, this is the best microphone ever. Here's why. I created it. I'm brilliant. I'm going to patent it. Life is good. For the rest of us, you're going to join an existing industry. You know, so those guys you referenced, they created their own industry.
Yeah.
You know, you can argue all you want about it, but I mean, dude, that was a whole new industry.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was. It's not even remotely, it's apples and oranges compared to what it replaced. So for most of us, we're going to join an industry that's existing.
Yep.
And then we have to figure out, what is our market advantage? What is your advantage as an individual? I don't care if you're trying to be the best delivery driver. I don't care if you're trying to leverage where you are at your job. I don't care if you're like, man, I'm going to do something on the side in sales. You have to figure out what is your market advantage. And I think the problem with a lot of people as they're building their business, they never think, they don't want to think about that. They want to, people start talking to them about building a business like you early on, they want to repel it. They don't want to think about that. I'm just going to make some sales and make some money. But what about you, Zach? Like, what would make you great? I didn't say I wanted to do it. Like, everybody slow down. I got these people over here. It seems a little bit like hokey, this business. I don't know if it's, you know what I mean? It's not a household name. I don't know if I should, and I don't know how my parents are all going to feel about her. I don't know. And so I'm just going to keep doing this, as opposed to realizing, you know what? When you get into something that requires no talent, there's a time frame. See, because you didn't create something where you're like, dude, I got the patent. I mean, time's kind of on my side. Matter of fact, I might even wait to release it. It's a matter of when you're jumping into something that already exists, dude, time is truly of the essence. Because there's a bunch of other people jumping in too. You know, and it's funny because I used to play, you play spike ball? Yeah. So I used to play spike ball when I was in college. And you know the story about spike ball, right? No. So you're talking about 1990, I'm in high school playing spike ball. Then it disappears. Like, there's no spike ball. Like, you're like, and it's not like I was like, oh my God, I can't live my life without spike ball. But I'm like getting older and I have kids and I'm just like, man, I don't like ever. I remember one day in the store, I was like, I wonder where that game went. You know, and like, it's just a net ball, like life's good, but you can't find it. And then I'm in a store one day, God knows how many years ago, and I'm like, oh, playing a spike ball.
Yeah, it's back.
And I remember my son's like, you know this game? And I'm like, yeah, I've been playing this game. He's like, no, you haven't. It's new. And I'm like, no, it's newly released, but it's not new. So I started asking a buddy of mine, and, so this is his, I didn't do any kind of deep dive and do all the information, how much it was sold for. But he was like, yeah, dude, I know the guy that launched it. And then they ran into the leagues, and now went crazy, tournaments and all that. But he's like, yeah, dude, product was sitting on the shelves, and the guy bought it for like nothing. And then, but his deal was, I'm going to get into like I'm going to have these tournaments, do all this other stuff. And it's like, it's funny because the entire time as I watch people play this, I think spike ball, pickleball, all these things that anybody can play.
Yeah.
They require no athletic ability, okay? And they just don't. Like, I played a lot of racquetball growing up. I think that's a much quicker, but it's not a wiffle ball, rattle. I mean, it's just the course not very big. Spike ball. Now, listen, if you're in better shape, in better health, you're more athletic, you're going to do better. But anybody can play it. It requires no athletic ability to walk out onto the field out of your backyard and play spike ball.
Right.
You can play with the most uncoordinated, unhealthiest person. It doesn't matter. And then you're like, but people want to belong to something. Oh shit! So now they make teams, and I start reading about how they created this concept. And it's like everybody wants to belong, so it's like have these tournaments, and then shit, you can be on ESPN the Ocho, and you can be playing in the tournament in Topeka, Kansas, in the finals, and you just got done with your shift at Walmart. I got done delivering whatever my UPS packages. I showed up, put a T-shirt on it, said the Dream Team, and me and you were playing against these other two guys in the finals. And I thought to myself, man, like, there's an existing deal, and these guys are like, yeah, dude, I'll buy it because I'm going to do it differently, and I'm going to market it differently, and I'm going to understand. I want to end by talking about this. Culture and teamwork.
Yeah.
Like, you actually responded to an ad, and that's how you found the life insurance industry. What did that ad say?
It said, looking for former athletes or military, no cap on your commissions.
That was 2008. My ad said, now hiring.
Yeah.
Athletic/military experience required. Phone number. And people would say to me, well, how did you know who you're going to get? I'm like, well, I was looking for team players.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. I was looking for people that wanted to be part of a team. I always wanted to be part of a team. I just didn't want to be on the team if we weren't focused on winning.
Right.
But if we're focused on winning, I'll do whatever you want me to do. If I show up and you're like, hey, dude, you'd be better off if you played first, not shortstop. We got so-and-so. I'm like, oh, shit, he's good shortstop. I'll play first. If another dude shows up, he's better at first. I'm like, bro, you might need to go to the outfield. All right, cool. Then they're like, dude, we got these two guys. They're both like, they played in the big leagues for 8 years. They're 30. They're playing the outfield. I'm like, they're like, you want to catch? I'm like, shit, I'll catch. Like, I just want to win.
Yeah.
Okay? What have you seen that's allowed people to build a healthy culture in business? And then what have you seen as the biggest detriment to a healthy culture? Like, what are the principles you've seen that have helped people build a healthy culture, you included? And then, like, the biggest obstacle that can take out a healthy culture, and how do you avoid that?
So I think the first thing is that building the business for the right reason, right? We kind of touched on it a little bit, but when I fell in love with this business was when I saw it make money for myself, and then I saw it make money. Like, I liked making money. I'm a capitalist. I love it. But when I saw my first guy make 7 figures is when I really fell in love with the business. I'm like, oh, this really changed his life, And I think my mission then, because I was comfortable, and I think everyone goes to that phase where you got to make enough money to where you're more than just getting by. Like, you're not having to look at everything when you go to the store. You're like, I can just buy stuff. I'm okay. When I saw other people start making 7 figures, it went from being just something that I did, recruited because I knew I was gonna make money for me, to like, how many people's lives can I change? And when I first started in the business, I was very, you remember, I was very shy. I was kind of closed off. I drank a lot more than I should. And I went to the University of Colorado. It's a great school. I'm glad Dion's there. That's all great. I know he's amazing to watch do what he's done there. But I went to school there, and I drank 5 days a week when I was there. And everyone I hung out with drank 5 days a week when I was there. And I'd never had been around a culture that it was okay to not go from, okay, like 5 o'clock on Friday, then you go to happy hour, then you drink all weekend long, do whatever else you're going to do. Like, that was kind of the norm that I was used to. Then I got around you, and you were the first person I openly heard talk about, like, I knew that people were alcoholics, but no one ever talked about it. People were just like, if you have your problems, like, go in the corner and like, don't talk about it, And you were like, hey, I had substance abuse problems when I was young. I drank too much. I did dumb stuff. And I was like, oh, me too. And I remember hearing it, and I kept drinking. And then you kept sharing the message, like, hey, I'm still sober. It's going this is how it's going. And I remember finally going like, maybe I should stop drinking because I probably have a problem with it, right? So I haven't drank a sip of alcohol in 4 years. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you watching you talk about it openly. Kind of gave me that perspective. And what I noticed over the last 7 years is I feel a lot better about myself as a man, as a father now. I don't drink. I'm very proud of that. And I take really good care of myself and take good care of my family. And now when I'm recruiting people, I'm like, can we make an impact that's more than just money?
Correct.
Can we build people up to feel good about who they are on a daily basis, who believe in themselves, who believe that they deserve more, who can take a guy named Ronnie on my team. He used to run 2 restaurants, worked his ass off 100 hours a week. He said he got in a car crash one day, and the last thing he thought was, oh shit, I barely see my kids grow up and I'm gonna die right now. Mm-hmm. And then he went into our business full time. Now he made really good money for himself, but more importantly, he gets to see his kids every single night go to bed. Mm-hmm. And so I think like what it became for me was, how many people can I find who are the 22-year-old version of myself, who are in a place where they're not confident, they're probably a little depressed, they probably have some substance abuse issues, they don't feel good about themselves, they, maybe they have a good partner, they don't want to get married. I never thought I was gonna have kids when I was 23, 24 years old, because I think subconsciously I knew I was not the right example. Now I have 2 kids and I know that I'm a good example for them, and I know the people I'm around, I'm proud that they could be around, the people I'm in business with. So I think the culture came from, yes, we want to help people make money, but how do we help develop people the right way? Mm-hmm. And what are our standards and morals? And with the guys that we recruit, it's like, we want you to make money. We want you to buy the cool stuff you want to buy. But can we teach you to do the right thing by your family, invest money the right way, set your future generations up? And the people I'm in business with are not just people that I work with and make money with, but it's become more of a family than anything else. And it's about like, how do I want to be the person that if something goes down and they need some help, that they call me, whether Amen. It's related to our business or not. Same way that you are with me. If I needed help, I know that I would call you, and it could be 2 a.m. and you'd answer the phone. And I think when you start building a business with that in mind, and then I vocalize this to the guys that I work with. I'm like, I believe in you. You asked me earlier, hey, do you talk to your guys about that? I'm like, I do now. I did not used to, but I believe in you for these reasons. These are the things I want you to do. I think that's what builds a really good culture, because they know what my morals are and my standards are. And look, dude, there's people out there whose morals and standards are like, let's buy a Lamborghini, or let's lease a Lamborghini, and like, I'm gonna have to lease my Gucci belt because I don't have any damn money. And that's okay. Like, if you want to work with those, can you lease a belt? I'm sure. I bet you probably can. I'm sure there's people online who have leased a belt before, or they put it on layaway because they're paying $43 a month for 5 years on their Gucci belt, right? And some people will go work with those, but dude, I don't want to work with those people anyways. I want people that fit into, and dude, it doesn't matter if they're white, black, Arab, male, female, 60 years old or 20 years old. But if their morals line up, they're going to fit in really well, And I think building the culture and letting people know why we're doing what we do and why I care about people the way that we do, and that our goal is to make money together, but it's deeper than just money, I think builds the right culture. And what I learned from you was I had all these things in my mind, and I would go work and I'd lead by example. And you're like, at some point, you're going to have to actually tell people what you're thinking. Yeah. And so I've gotten better at going like, look, these are the values I have. These are the morals I have. I'm a family person now. These are the things I expect from myself. These are the things I expect from my leaders on my team. And very early, dude, I tell my people, like, you're never going to be a leader on our team if you don't sell 50 grand a month, because we lead by example, both through our words and through our actions, And the biggest thing I had to get that I learned from you was the ability to vocalize things, not just from example, but actually tell people what my thoughts are, to articulate, what our culture is going to be. So hopefully that answers that question.
No, it's great, dude. Yeah. I think if you don't communicate, it's a wrap. I mean, also, if you don't talk to people and I'm sitting there trying to figure out what you think, I'm going to assume you're not thinking all these amazing things you might be thinking about helping me, because you don't talk to me.
Right.
And you can't be a great poker player and a great leader at the same time. Like, you've got to be able to communicate with your folks. And no, it was amazing, man. I appreciate it. Zac Twardowski, you can find him everywhere. Instagram, you can't miss him. Insane success story. I'm really proud of you. I really am, and I love how much you lead other people. Thanks for jumping on Pick Money. Hope this helped you out. Get to somebody that needs help. Like, subscribe, share. We'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks, guys.